Tonight on EIV News at 9, Donald Trump's campaign manager faces charges for that alleged assault of a journalist.
Plus, a proposed Muslim cemetery comes under fire in Dudley.
And the Supreme Court has made its first ruling since the death of Antoine Scalia. We'll have the full story coming up.
Hello and welcome to EIV News at 9. I'm Angelina Salcido.
And I'm Anthony Monzon. We begin with tonight's top stories. Roxbury resident Maria Bui is facing charges in the death of her 3-year-old stepson, Connie White. Bui was arraigned Tuesday at the Roxbury District Court on counts of assault and battery after police were called to the scene and found Connie unresponsive inside the home. Connie was taken to the Boston Medical Center where he died 2 days later. The cause of Connie's death has yet to be determined, according to police. Bui was held on a $100,000 bail and is due back in court on April 28th.
A Halifax man trapped in a trench was rescued by the Plymouth County Technical Rescue Team Tuesday. The trench wall collapsed while the 50-year-old contractor Paul Brown was working on a home septic system on South Street, causing Brown to be buried in dirt up to his chest. Paramedics started an IV on Brown while he was in the trench and set up a heater to prevent hypothermia. The rescue took almost 2 hours and Brown was immediately airlifted to Boston Medical Center.
A Dorchester man was arraigned Tuesday in connection with the fatal Thanksgiving shooting on Yawkey Way. Dominique Carpenter Grady was arrested by Boston police in December after security cameras caught Carpenter Grady and another person exchanging gunfire outside the Who's On First bar around 2 a.m. that resulted in the death of Jepty Cherry. Carpenter Grady has been indicted on counts of unlawful possession of a firearm, unlawful possession of ammunition, as well as other firearm-related charges. Carpenter Grady also faces charges on 3 counts of attempted assault and battery with a dangerous weapon.
Several statues in a church in Burlington were damaged Wednesday. According to Father Frank Silva, vandals snuck into St. Margaret Parish overnight, breaking off the hands and heads of the statues. This comes after last week's attack on Catherine's Catholic in Norwood, where paint was sprayed all over the Blessed Mother Mary. Investigations are ongoing for both incidents.
The Obama administration released a series of measures to fight the nation's growing opioid epidemic Tuesday. It includes allowing doctors to double the number of patients receiving medication to combat addiction. Currently, physicians are unable to prescribe buprenorphine to more than 100 patients. The new steps would double the drug's availability. There are concerns that buprenorphine itself is addictive, and the increased availability could jeopardize safe dosage. Last week, the FDA announced prescription painkillers will be required to include warning labels to indicate their risks. The White House has requested $1.1 billion to be put toward combating opioid abuse after a study found more than 2.1 million Americans are addicted to opioid painkillers and another 500,000 hooked on heroin.
We live in a society where we medicate a lot of problems and we self-medicate a lot of problems. And the connection between mental health, drug abuse is powerful. Anxiety, folks who are trying to figure out coping skills. We have an entire industry that says we're going to help you self-medicate. And the line between alcohol.
Boston City Councilor Josh Zakim is pushing to city-sponsor a travel ban to North Carolina. Earlier this month, North Carolina passed a House bill into law banning people from using restrooms other than their so-called birth gender. Zakim claimed that the blatant discrimination stripped people's basic rights and protection. The legislation has caused outrage in many states like Seattle, San Francisco, and New York. Mayor Martin Walsh agreed to sign the bill if it's approved by the council.
Donald Trump's campaign manager was charged with battery in Jupiter, Florida, Tuesday. According to local law enforcement, Corey Lewandowski grabbed a reporter who attempted to ask Trump a question. Lewandowski vigorously denied the incident, but after security camera images showing him roughly pulling reporter Michelle Fields out of his way, a formal arrest has been made. Lewandowski turned himself in on the misdemeanor charge, but was quickly released.
Dudley may become the home to the largest Muslim cemetery in the state, but then again, it may not. The Islamic Society of Greater Worcester has proposed a 16,000-person gravesite to be built in Dudley, but residents are putting up a fight during the town's public hearings. Residents expressed concern of well water contamination, increased traffic, and a lack of support and a lack of need for another cemetery. The Islamic Society stands behind the project, arguing that the nearest Muslim graveyard is currently 60 miles away in Worcester County, is home to as many as 500 Muslim families. This issue will go back before the zoning and health boards in April. We now go to our political correspondent, Stacia Cody, for a look at what's going on this week in Washington.
Stacia, what do you have for us?
On Saturday, Sanders swept all 3 Democratic caucuses in Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington and gained a significant chunk of delegates. Now, Sanders' delegate count stands at 1,011, while Clinton leads with just 700 more. With the Democratic National Convention coming up this July, there isn't much time for Bernie to catch up, but it is possible for him to do so. According to NPR's Domenico Montanaro, Sanders can secure a victory if he wins 16 of the remaining 18 states, preferably by double-digit margins. To pull this off, Sanders would need to start gaining support of non-white and older voters, as national polls have also shown that Clinton leads the over 30 vote by 65%. In an attempt to lessen the delegate gap, Sanders is lobbying for more debates, particularly one in New York. Over the weekend, Sanders publicly challenged Clinton to face off in a New York debate before the state's primary on April 19th. Though Clinton has yet to formally deny Sanders' challenge, she has stated that she will not debate Sanders unless he promises to watch his tone.
Risk. She's done very well in the debates. The debates have been very good, but Senator Sanders doesn't get to decide when we debate, particularly when he's running a very negative campaign against us. Let's see if he goes back to the kind of tone he said he was going to set early on. If he does that, then we'll talk about debates, but we're not going to talk about it.
So no chance of a New York debate?
I didn't say that. I said we're not going to talk about it. We're going to see what kind of tone he sets.
Clinton already has a 34% lead among voters in her home state of New York and thereby has little to gain from a debate. Sanders, who was born and raised in Brooklyn and has the accent to prove it, has native credibility in New York, which could win him a larger share of votes if a debate is permitted. However, even if Sanders vows to maintain a more appropriate tone, the Clinton campaign likely will not budge on the New York debate. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court made their first post-Scalia ruling, and it was a deadlock. The case was brought forth by non-union public school teachers in California who argued that they shouldn't have to pay union fees that many states are forcing them to. The court ruling was divided in a 4-4 split, a result which reaffirmed the ruling of the lower court, meaning that non-union workers must continue to pay the union fees. This ruling highlights Justice Scalia's death, as the long-standing conservative likely would have voted against the unions. Without Scalia or a replacement for him on the bench, the court will likely come to more deadlock splits in near future cases concerning abortion, voting rights, and contraception insurance coverage.
Stacia, now we know that Hillary has refused the debate. What could she gain if she actually decided to join the debate?
Well, actually, because Hillary has so much support in New York already and in general, she's been receiving kind of bad media flack for denying Bernie this debate. So I think participating in a debate before the New York primary and giving Bernie Sanders what he wishes would show that she's strong and that she's not afraid of what he may be coming back at her with.
Right. Thank you so much, Stacia.
Now for other news, we're going to go to news out of Cambridge. Plastic bags with handles will be banned in Cambridge in stores starting today. The ban was proposed in 2007 and approved last year, giving businesses time to use up all of their plastic bags. When customers go to checkout, they will have the option of providing their own bag or paying at least 10 cents for the reusable bag. The city created this fee as a way to encourage customers to bring their own bags to stores. Many Cambridge businesses have reacted well to the ordinance, feeling it will be effective in reducing waste.
The new female-only ride-hailing company Chariot is facing legality issues related to discrimination. Chariot is a Massachusetts-based app and employs a ride-share system exclusive to females. The intent of the service is to give women a safer option outside of Uber and other transit companies that employ men. However, experts have speculated the company may not be allowed to discriminate against their customers or employees on the basis of gender. If all goes according to plan, the service will launch on April 19th.
CEO of Dunkin' Donuts Nigel Travis made half the salary he received in 2014. In that year, he earned $10.2 million, and in 2015, he made only $5.4 million and did not receive any stock awards. An increase in breakfast competition from other chain restaurants like Starbucks and McDonald's has caused the drop in his salary. This past year, the stock of Dunkin' Donuts has fallen slightly, while the stock of those companies has slightly gone up.
We're now joined in studio by our weather correspondent, Joey Sack.
That's right, Joey. Hopefully you have some good news for us.
Anthony, Angelina, good evening to you both. Well, it has been pretty chilly this week, and this past Tuesday specifically, it was very windy in Boston. Today is no exception to that trend. Windy today with a high of 67 and a low of 58 degrees. Winds will be coming out of the south-southwest between 22 and 24 miles per hour, but those winds could gust up to 40 miles per hour. All I can say is be careful if you usually wear a hat as part of your typical ensemble. You might lose it. I'll be back with tomorrow's weather, plus a look at our 5-day forecast, so keep it locked on EIV News. Anthony, Angelina, back to you.
Always a laugh with Joey Sack. Thanks so much, Joey. We'll be back with you a little later on. Coming up after the break, we'll have an update on the Pakistan bombing and other international news with Camila Sagarsasu.
That's right, and reporter Tom Little takes a look at the ever-changing Seaport District. Stick around.
Lauren, what are you doing?
I'm getting ready to host Good Morning Emerson, of course.
Good Morning Emerson? What's that?
It's the best morning show ever that's on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m.
Wow, how can I work on this?
Yeah, let's get going. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
Welcome back. We're now joined by our resident international correspondent, Camila Sagarsasu, for a look at what's happening around the world this week.
That's right, Camila. There's a lot going on worldwide. What can you tell us?
A hijacking that diverted a domestic Egyptian flight to Cyprus has ended with all hostages released and the hijacker surrendering. Egypt Air Flight MS-181 was taken over by a passenger claiming to be wearing a suicide explosive belt. Airline officials later said authorities had told them that the belt was fake. The Cypriot president said the incident was not terrorism-related and no one was injured in the hijacking. After a morning of tension, the hijacker was seen walking down aircraft steps with hands raised. Larnaca Airport on the south coast of Cyprus has been closed and scheduled flights diverted elsewhere. Security forces hunting for suspects in the deadly Sunday bombing targeting Christians in Lahore Park raided locations in 3 cities overnight and arrested suspected terrorists, a military spokesman said Monday. No details were given on who had been arrested or what role, if any, they may have played in the bombing, which killed 74 people and injured 362 others. According to police, at least 24 children were among the dead. In addition to the unspecified number of arrests of suspected terrorists and facilitators, special forces have also recovered a huge cache of arms and ammunition. North Korea fired a projectile believed to be a short-range missile Tuesday, the nation's latest rebuke of sanctions and military exercises being conducted by the U.S. and South Korea. The launch comes amid increasing tensions with Pyongyang over repeated missile tests, a nuclear test, and a long-range rocket launch this year. The moves prompted new sanctions by the U.S., the United Nations, and South Korea. President Obama spoke on the issue earlier this week.
Of great importance to both of us is North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons, which threatens the security and stability of the region. And President Xi and I are both committed to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and full implementation of UN sanctions. So we're going to discuss how we can discourage action like nuclear and missile tests that escalate tensions and violate international obligations.
President Obama has scheduled a meeting in Washington with the South Korean president and the Japanese prime minister in order to discuss North Korea's ramped up threats.
Camila, I want to go back to the incident that happened in Egypt. Why would he hijack that plane?
A lot of people thought it was terrorism related, Angie, but actually he was trying to see his wife, a weird way to hijack a plane if you ask me. He also was doing some kind of social protest against some hostages or Egyptian rights in Egypt. So it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions. A lot of people did not understand why he was hijacking it. He obviously was arrested and his wife did come to the airport. So we'll hopefully find out more about that in the future.
Now, on a little bit more of an absurd note here, we've heard about a passenger taking a selfie with the hijacker. Have you heard any reaction to that whatsoever?
Yeah, so the passenger was a male British man. Obviously, he's smiling in the photo with the hijacker. Of course, there's mass controversy. A lot of people are unhappy because, of course, this man endangered the lives of the crew and, of course, the passenger. So not very happy reactions. Definitely a unique hijacking in all senses, Anthony.
The world gets just more and more interesting every day. Thanks so much, Camila. In other news, the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority has plans to change the way their customers pay for tickets. A proposition to install quick pay technology has been proposed to the MBTA's governing board. The installation would allow riders to tap their phones or credit cards to access the T, looking to shorten lines and make payments easier. Before upgrading, the MBTA would need to replace the current card readers and install new stations to reload existing cards. Officials say the system could potentially be in place within 30 months of any contract being created, and it will come, hopefully.
And in other MBTA news, the company has launched a new website in an attempt to increase transparency. The site, called MBTA Back on Track, measures the T's reliability, ridership, finances, and customer satisfaction. As of right now, the website can give you data from the day before. The MBTA says it plans to work with third-party app developers to expand on this website's functions. According to the site, MBTA facilitates roughly 1.1 million trips a year, and 63% of Bostonians say they were, to some degree, satisfied with the T's performance.
A group of Boston superintendents have given support to a proposal to start high school later in the morning. A statement released by the superintendent stated, quote, "The research is clear on that topic, that starting later times best support the social and emotional needs of our high school students." The group believes that having schools start later can help to curb such problems such as depression, lack of concentration, poor grades, and maybe even car accidents. The current goal of these superintendents is to push back the beginning of school days back to 8:30 in the morning or later. Currently, schools in Boston start at 7:30.
24-year-old Houston native Stefan Dart surprised his grandparents with $15,000 to pay off their mortgage. The two grandparents took him into their home in first grade, and he promised 1 year later that he would one day pay off their mortgage. He has been working full-time for the past several years while also being the founder of a nonprofit and a full-time student at San Jacinto College. Needless to say, his grandparents were stunned and overjoyed, and Stefan says that he simply enjoys helping people, and it was a dream to see them happy, something that can't be explained, only felt. Now, Anthony, anybody from the Boston area can tell you that the Seaport District is one of the quickest developing parts of town, and the General Electric is now moving here.
Wow, a huge decision, and you're totally right, Angie. So to help keep track of everything, let's go over there with reporter Tom Little, who headed over to the waterfront to see what all the commotion is about. Tom?
In the past 20 years, Boston's Seaport District has gone from underdeveloped to one of the more thriving neighborhoods in the city. Let's see what projects are changing the district. General Electric decided to leave Connecticut and call Boston its new home. In Boston, GE will have 800 jobs, only 200 of which are corporate positions. This will add on to the 5,000 employees GE already has in the area. The new headquarters will be on Necco Street. The city has given the company a deal that could be worth up to $145 million to make the location more attractive. Also being added to the area is the Seaport Transportation Center, located near the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. What will look like a parking garage, the city plans to have a Hubway cycle and zip car pickup locations. The old Northern Avenue Bridge was closed in 2014 and is expected to undergo renovation. The rusty structure saw a lot of foot traffic to and from the seaport. The new design of the bridge is up to a contest run by the Boston Society of Architects. Anthony's Pier 4 is going to change. The restaurant is being torn down, and it will be replaced by a park and new luxury condos. The area is seeing a frenzy of construction, from office and retail space to residential communities. What is yet to be seen is how the development will affect congestion in the area. For EIV News, I'm Tom Little.
Thanks, Tom, for that. I'm really looking forward to seeing how different it looks in the next few years. Now, Boston is also a town known for its sports.
That's right, Angelina. So to keep you up to date with everything you need to know this week, here's Harris Rubenstein with your sports update.
Thanks, guys. Well, nothing too negative on the Sox this week, but a lot of fuss has been made this offseason about the opening day jobs of two separate positions on the Red Sox starting lineup. The battle between Pablo Sandoval and Travis Shaw for third base has been the most notable one. But today, Travis Shaw was officially announced as the team's starting third baseman over the disgruntled former Giant. In left field, not many people knew that Rusty Castillo was actually fighting for his job with Brock Holt, and was made official yesterday that Brock Holt will actually get the first look to take on the Green Monster. The Sox may see one more position battle once catcher Christian Vasquez returns from injury to challenge Blake Swihart. Staying in the country, moving to the international sports side, the U.S. men's national team took on Guatemala in a very important match towards the men qualifying for the 2018 World Cup. Taking on Guatemala in Columbus. We'll see in the start of the game here. Nice cross to Giassi Zardes, and it's Clint Dempsey who puts one into the bottom right corner. Nice shot there from Captain Clint. Moving on later in the first half, we see Jeff Cameron, the only player that's on the Bundesliga from the United States national team, heads one in, puts them up 2-0 later in the first, also putting 3 goals up in the first half. Here's Graham Zusi putting one in off the assist from Giassi Zardes. Everyone keeps calling him overrated, but that was a great shot there. And then a fourth one just to end off the night super well. We see Clint Dempsey with a nice steal here in the backfield. Just going to play around with the ball for a little bit, dump it off to Josie Altidore, puts it in to the top left. Great shot there by Josie Altidore, but unfortunately, though, for the first time since 1968, there will be no U.S. soccer in the Olympics after the men's U23 team lost to Colombia. The team needed a win or a draw to stay in the race, but no Brazil for the team this go around. And also this week, the New York Times wrote a very controversial story about the NFL concussions and the league's ties to big tobacco companies. And well, Roger Goodell wasn't too happy. In a series of 3 very long articles, the NFL attempted to defend themselves from the abrasive New York Times piece. The NFL also claimed defamation against the famed newspaper, so we will see what happens between these two giants of their businesses. But one thing is for sure, the concussion issue is really starting to hit the mainstream fan base, and that might not bode too well for the NFL.
Now, Harris, getting back to the U.S. national team's big win the other day, again, huge, gargantuan, whatever words you want to throw at it. Again, if they lost, they would have been out. What's the team's path to the World Cup looking like now that they won the game?
Well, big might just be an understatement there, Anthony. If they don't win this game, they don't even qualify for the World Cup in 2018. So winning this game leaves them in second in their group. So they have to stay in first or second in order to qualify. So with this win, it gives them enough points to stay in that second spot on goal differential. So hopefully they'll be able to make the 2018 World Cup if they get a good couple of string of games together.
Harris, now I want to move to the Red Sox. What is their starting rotation going to look like for the next game?
Well, I mentioned a couple of those position battles, but the rotation was actually pretty hectic too. So we have David Price at the start, going to Clay Buchholz at the 2. Joe Kelly was named as the 3 starter, with Rick Porcello coming at 4. And the number 5 spot is going to be a mix of Henry Owens, Brian Johnson, Royce Alias, the guy they got from the Seattle Mariners, and then they'll throw in a couple rookies as the year goes on until Eduardo Rodriguez returns from his knee injury that he suffered during spring training.
All right, thanks so much, Harris. Always expecting big things from Fenway. We now go from sports to weather as we're rejoined by our weather correspondent, Joey Sack.
That's right. Hopefully we can expect big things from Joey. Joey, what can we expect for tomorrow?
Well, it looks like we're going to be getting some April showers right on schedule tomorrow, April 1st, and that's no April Fool's joke. Good chance of rain showers tomorrow and windy, high of 63, low of 46, with a possibility of thunderstorms. Winds will be coming out of the south-southwest at about 22 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, those winds will be coming out of the west-southwest at about 19 miles per hour. Stay tuned for later on in the broadcast for my 5-day forecast. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks again, Joey. We'll be right back, but coming up after the break, entertainment correspondent Ashley LaChante will be here to tell you what's going on with Boston celebs.
And Joey Sack will be back with a 5-day forecast, so don't go anywhere. Keep it locked.
you doing?
I'm getting ready to host Good Morning Emerson, of course.
Good Morning Emerson? What's that?
It's the best morning show ever that's on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m.
Wow, how can I work on this?
Yeah, let's get going. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
Welcome back. We're now joined by our entertainment correspondent, Ashley LaShawn, for a look at what Boston celebs are getting up to.
What do you have for us, Ashley?
Well, it's certainly not Boston without a bit of Ben Affleck, and aside from his underwhelming performance in Batman vs. Superman, his latest picture has just set its release date. Live by Night is based on the novel of the same name by Dorchester native Dennis Lehane. This Prohibition-era crime drama shot scenes in Boston's own North End this past fall, and in addition to starring in the movie, Mr. Affleck directed and adapted the story for the screen. Catch Live by Night in theaters October 20th, 2017, just in time for Oscar season. And with spring somewhat underway, it's time for music festival season, and Boston Calling's official lineup has been revealed. Sia, Odessa, Janelle Monáe, and Disclosure are just a few of the musical headliners set to take the stage this season. In addition to the usual musical acts, Boston Calling has made some pretty exciting changes this year, adding a third stage to their usual layout in order to welcome a slew of comedic acts. Sounds like an event you don't want to miss. Boston Calling's set is May 27th through 29th at City Hall Plaza. And if you're seeking something fun for this warm weekend, look no further than the Museum of Fine Arts, which is opening its latest sculptural exhibit, Megacities Asia, on Sunday. Much like a megacity itself, the exhibit extends beyond the walls of the museum and onto the lawn with a multitude of sculptures showcasing the work of 11 artists from a variety of cities such as Shanghai, Beijing, and Mumbai. Admission to the museum is free to Emerson students, so please take advantage of this amazing perk.
Now, Ashley, Boston Calling has been a relatively small festival over the years, but it seems to be picking up some real steam. What would you consider, I'm going to put you on the spot here, would you consider Boston Calling to be a first-tier event or a second-tier event in the world of music compared to the likes of like Bonnaroo and Coachella?
Okay, I would actually say that Boston Calling is like our entry-level drug of music festivals. It's truly like that first kind of compact gathering that everyone can get together. You know, so many schools in Boston, so lots of young people gather together, listen to music, and then once you've handled that small space, only 2, now 3 stages, you can kind of build up to bigger things like Coachella and Bonnaroo, and it's just a great time.
All right, thanks so much, Ashley. And they're even adding a little new T-stop in there, too, with the
know.
Government Center reopening.
I know.
Either way, Joey Sack is back for a look at the 5-day forecast. Let's see what the weather has in store for us in the next few days.
Well, I really hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks like Old Man Winter is not quite done with Boston. I'll get to all of that with my 5-day forecast. Starting with tomorrow, good chance of showers, high of 63, low of 46, with a chance of thunderstorms. Saturday, cloudy during the day, high of 54, low of 40 degrees, with a chance of showers in the evening. Winds Saturday night could gust over 40 miles per hour out of the southwest. Sunday, a wintry mix in the morning, high of 40, low of 26 degrees, with winds coming out of the west-northwest between 20 and 29 miles per hour. Monday, mostly sunny, high of 39 and a low of 30. And Tuesday, we have a high chance of snow, high of 35, low of 26 degrees, with snow accumulation of about 7 to 5 inches. Not the best weather for the start of April, but remember, this is a forecast, not a certainty. So be prepared for whatever weather comes our way next. I'm weather correspondent Joey Sack. Have a great weekend. Anthony, Angelina, I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Joey.
Now, again, recently, we've seen a lot of things in terms of the weather. We might have snow coming again,
I know.
you know, down the road. So could make for some very interesting times here in Boston.
It's very, very true. But now that's all the time that we have for tonight. So tune in to us next week for all the Boston news that you need. In the meantime, check us out at EIVnews.com or on Twitter at EIV News and at our EIV News Facebook page. I'm Angelina Salcido.
And I'm Anthony Monzon. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.